I just want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for attending. We have so many people who are interested in this topic. So yay, great turnout. Let me just start off real quick. For those who are not familiar with MA21, MA21 stands for the Massachusetts Alliance for 21st Century Disability Policy. So we, a group of people got together, and this goes, we're saying 2007, but prior to 2007, where they sat down, self-advocates, family members, other stakeholders, and, just talked about the right to self-direct. What happened is that led to a coalition just being built. A booklet was put together that talked about what a disability policy should look like in this 21st century time, and it just continued. It continued to grow, and the advocacy was stronger, and this led to a bill called the Real Lives being passed into law, and that was 2014. So here we are in 2023, and the law has not been implemented by the State Department, but there are just some, a lot of different issues going on. Really excited to share, if you don't already know, that there is a website, which is, it's MA21alliance.org. And if someone could just put that in the chat for me, that would be awesome. We encourage everyone to please visit this website. Very easy to navigate. Katerina Daly with the ARC of Massachusetts, she's phenomenal. She worked on this for us, and it was launched about a week ago. And on this website, you will find a lot of resources. You'll find the Real Lives Law. So we encourage everyone to just really, gain knowledge on what the law means. You'll find communications that we've had, with the department and other people who can actually help make this law be fully implemented. I also just want to encourage everyone, if you're not speaking, to put yourself on mute, where we won't have time to address any problem-solving issues, but again, go to the MA21alliance.org. We would love for folks to, join this coalition, which is, it's all about advocacy, and also share your story. If you want to ask questions there, I don't know, maybe we can share more resources. And as far as the agenda, just quickly want to share what we're going to cover today. So we're going to have two wonderful women, I call my friends, Anne Frack and Donna J, share what self-direction means. Their conviction is self-direction is for everyone, but we'll hear from them and they'll share their personal journey as well. And then we have Susan Nadworny, who will share her story. Susan and several other people had, they wrote a letter to the editor, and you'll find those letters on our website as well. Susan is also a great friend of mine. She was the former chair of Massachusetts Families Organizing for Change, which is now Mass Families, and was very involved with the MA21 Alliance. And I'm just grateful that she's going to be able to share her experience and introduce her son, James. And then we'll just quickly look at the fact sheet. We won't get into the details, but Robert Beckett will help us with that. Just a quick overview on the second page of the basic fact sheet, again, on the website. And then we'll hear from Maura Sullivan and Kathleen Amaral with the ARC of Massachusetts, and they'll be sharing with us the importance of legislative advocacy, and then we'll close with another message. But let's get this rocking and rolling. Leo, is Barbara and Donna on? Awesome. So I will put myself on mute, and Ann and Donna.
Actually, I'm not sure about Barbara. I thought I let her in, but I don't see her right now. Ann's in for sure, as well as Donna, Jay.
Okay.
Do you want to go out of order? Do you want to let Robert go? I mean, I'm just trying to think. If I'll reach out, I'll text Barbara.
Okay. Robert, did you want to do an overview on the fact sheet, the second page? Or do you want to wait? Where's my friend Robert? Thanks for your patience, everyone.
Well, and since Barbara's not here right now, I just texted her, why don't we let Maura and Kathleen, if that works for you, and sweet Robert, we didn't hear
I don't
from.
see Donna.
Oh,
Okay.
Donna just came in, I thought. Donna J?
Yeah.
Okay, it said she came in on my phone. Okay. All right, and Barbara's trying to get in on her phone. I don't know what the issue is. I will invite Donna again. She might be, struggling getting on for some reason. Robert, if you can hear us now, I wonder if you could do the fact sheet like Diane was asking. Robert, we can put it on the screen.
Yeah.
The fact sheet now, because we're still waiting for Barbara.
I see.
Yeah, and just not to eat up time. And you want me to go to the website where the fact sheet is and post it?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and Leo, are you going to go to the fact sheet itself and the basic one? Okay, great. So you just saw the website, and my name is Robert Beckett, and I co-chair the MA21 steering committee with Ann Frack. And this is the actual website. So you're looking at it now. And one of the first things that's on there is a fact sheet. And this was put together by a group of writers and then approved by the steering committee. And the first page talks about self-direction. And it's pretty basic in that self-direction lets you choose your own services so you can live the life you want, which is going to be really the story that Ann Frack and Donna J are going to tell us today, and also Susan Nadhorny. I think it's important to see who is MA21 in terms of individuals, and that it includes the Massachusetts Advocates Standing Strong, Mass Families, ARC of Mass, Mass Down Syndrome Congress, Advocates for Autism of Massachusetts, Massachusetts Sibling Support Network, Disability Law Center, and the Massachusetts Developmental Disabilities Council. Okay, so if you want to go to page 2, that'd be good. All right, so what we're looking at is that the Real Lives Law was enacted in 2014. And the Real Lives Law required that DDS implement the law by enacting regulations, which is typical of a statute that will say that the Human Service Department should enact regulations. There have been no regulations enacted for now close to 9 years. And DDS did propose regulations in November of 2021, or 2022, I'm sorry. And there were many verbal and written comments written, and almost all the comments were critical of the proposed regulations. And the DDS now has those under advisement and is meeting with various groups, net stakeholders, to discuss concerns about them. And we'll see where that goes. But basically what this fact sheet looks at is that there should be equity and access. That is, all individuals with disabilities who receive services from DDS have the right to decide whether they want to participate in self-direction or not. They don't have to, but they have that right to decide. And there basically should be access to the program, to the self-directed self-determination, and there should be equity in how it's applied. So the first issue here is that there should be clear and equal budget rights. And the statute says that the budget amount, the amount that's available to a person, will be based on their needs, will be based on their current needs, and will also be equivalent to the cost of what would have been a traditional cost in a traditional program. DDS has never disclosed how they calculate the budget for individuals, and it does not appear to be either based on current needs nor on equivalence to the what would be the cost in a traditional system. Second issue, and let's see if you go down, can you scroll down? Yeah, okay, and then go up, yes. Then the second issue is on the right to control your budget. And basically what that means is that that you have, the real lives law says that the individual should have the right to choose their supports, their services, and their goods. And basically the way in which the program has been implemented without regulations is that really there's just an employer model on the whole, that's the only thing that's available is to employ people to provide services. The act does not say that, the law does not say that, and would indicate that you could have also budget authority where you could purchase services from an agency or an organization or a company. And so we think that that the law should be clear that budget authority is allowed, and it's also recognized in the waiver system. Then the last thing is the individual, or next to last, independent advocacy rights. And what that has to do is the real lives law says that every individual will have the right to retain an independent facilitator, somebody independent of the government, to assist them if they so choose and if they can figure out the financing of it, whether it's through the budget or through outside the budget. But they have the right to that. But in order to have that right, DDS has to develop qualifications for the independent facilitator by regulation. And DDS has never established those regulations, so therefore there's been no independent facilitators developed in this state, and there are none that you can select that are recognized under the statute as qualified independent facilitators. So the last action incorporates all of these. We have written, there have been extensive comments on the proposed regulations. The Disability Law Center, an Anderson Krieger law firm that was retained to provide an opinion for myself. Representative Gentile provided he's a legislator, provided very fine legal analysis of what the regulations ought to cover. And then the Arc of Mass and AFAM and other organizations and other individuals did comments that were very substantial and indicated what the regulations ought to do. So we're encouraging DDS not to issue regulations for the sake of regulations, but to issue regulations that really advance the idea that people can live their lives the way they want to. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. So I believe that Ann and Donna are able to present for us. Ann, are you all set?
Is Donna here?
Well, let's see.
Last I knew she was in, then out, unfortunately, Ann. So I know both you and Barbara are here. I don't know what to say unless we want to flip the order and have Maura and Kathleen go. I'm looking right now through the list. Donna, are you here?
Nope.
Ann, why don't you just start something and I will call.
So Brian
Donna.
just put something in the chat that he's talking to her.
Oh, okay, so he can help with that. That's good.
Yeah, she's having technical difficulties, so
Maybe
Brian,
Brian can share what Donna's saying indirectly or put her on speaker or something. Why don't we do that and move ahead? That's okay.
yeah. So Barbara, you can go ahead and
I have her PowerPoint. Can I share that with you folks? Donna's PowerPoint?
yes. Mm-hmm.
I think I have that here. Let's see if we got, did you get that?
It's coming up.
We're seeing the emails. You probably want to switch.
Go to your other tab that has your
All right,
document.
I'll go back.
Yeah.
I'll go out of this.
Just if you stop share for a second and then go to the PPT, PowerPoint and touch it and then share screen again, pick the
Yeah.
power.
So I gotta get out of share. Maybe you should go to another agenda item and we'll work on this.
Okay,
And do that? Okay.
Yeah, why don't we? And
sure.
we'll get Donna back.
Okay, Maura, how about you jump in? Barbara, you just need to stop sharing.
Me?
Actually, I'll share for a second and then stop and that'll get rid of, then I'll stop. Okay. Now you got it, Maura. Go ahead.
There we go. All right.
Thank
Well, before I share, I just wanted to say hello and say what an honor it is to be with this group today. I know so many of you have worked for so long with the Alliance, and then others are new to the Zoom call today. So so Kathleen and I are just going to walk you through a little bit around legislative advocacy. I think we're only going to take about 30 minutes. And it isn't going to be necessarily specific to a self-direction ask or specific to the real lives law, but I think you'll find it useful in connecting with your legislators for future needs and for the work that still needs to be done to implement this law. And can I just ask everyone to be brave and put a hand up if you have been in contact with your legislator in the last 6 months? Yay, Karen. And I see you. Okay, awesome. That's really good to know. And I see everybody's screen changing. This is good. Okay, great. Well, we have really important reasons to stay in touch with them. And I think telling your story, sharing this new beautiful MA21 Alliance website is a great reason to connect again and to really bring this issue to the forefront for them. So let me go ahead and share, otherwise I'll just keep chatting away. Let's see. I got too much on my screen too. All right, so come on. All right, so in case you don't know me, I'm the Senior Director of Government Affairs and Health Policy. And I've been with the ARC for a long time, but haven't had the opportunity to work with MA21. So again, I'm very happy to do that. And Kathleen, do you want to just say hi and introduce yourself?
Yeah, Kathleen Amaral. I work for the ARC of Massachusetts, and I'm really glad to be here.
Great. All right. So I think everyone is probably very familiar with the ARC's mission, but I just did want to put it up here and to also say, if you made it to our legislative reception last week, a week and a half ago, thank you so much for being there. This is a shot of the reception, and we had, again, over 400 people. We were in person. We made our presence known, our issues known, focusing on the workforce shortage crisis. And it was really great to be back in the building because I think our community needed to be there and to really start back strong with our advocacy and our mission. So today, I just wanted to briefly cover legislative advocacy and working with the ARC for greater citizen empowerment now and in the future. In case you don't connect with us around legislative advocacy, this is my pitch to do so. I want to just quickly give an overview of the extreme and unrelenting workforce shortage crisis for context. This is really important that we are all speaking the same language and understanding sort of this threat and risk to the whole safety net system. And then we'll talk a little bit about legislative advocacy process, try to simplify it a little bit and focus on building your relationship with your legislator. And that is key for now and the future. And then how to really share your lived experience with self-direction, with the Real Lives Law. And then if we have time, we can kind of quickly review the budget and bill process. I see a lot of hands up, but I'm not sure if those were hands up saying that they have been in contact with their legislator, but if someone wants to watch the chat for questions, that's great. And again, this is really what the ARC of Mass does. We try to amplify your voice. We work on building strong relationships and connections with our legislature and leadership. And those come in handy at times like this, where we really need to make a difference, to make an impact. So you guys have all been doing a great job working on policy. And, you know, this is where I hope we can continue to work together. And I wanted to put this slide in just to remind people, although it's been frustrating to have the Real Lives Law pass and have a lot of struggle around implementation, I would say almost all of the wins on here have needed a lot more advocacy after the bill passed, all of them. And these are just some wins from the last 10 years. So going back further, each and every piece of legislation has had its struggles. So we know we're still working. I would say maybe the only thing on this list that, you know, we kind of did and moved on from was some of the COVID policy changes that we were able to get done. But, you know, I sit on the DPPC advisory board, and it's been really important in terms of implementation of Nikki's law. We're always obviously advocating for turning 22 as we have new needs in greater numbers. We really need some good advocacy around the higher ed bill that just passed this year. So, you know, still trying to implement our police training in autism that passed in 2021. So lots of challenges on that end. It's great when we get a bill through and we pass a law, but obviously the work doesn't end there, and you all know that keenly. And I just wanted to stop for a minute and just say, you know, on a personal note, who drives my advocacy? I think you might all know that I have two sons with autism, and I would say I hold our lived experiences pretty dearly. the good ones and the bad ones, because I know that both of those can help others, and sharing our story can affect change. So I'm really happy that you're all have come together for the greater good, connecting and collaborating on this issue. And there's my guys. And, you know, my family, we have a lot of needs. But when I think about sort of the collective need of our community, I think about upholding the safety net and the need for their future services as well. And I actually think a lot about my daughter, and if navigating our system is as hard as it is now, just praying that we can make it better, so that when she and hopefully her supporters are trying to do this when I cannot, that it won't be such a challenge. Okay, so just an overview of what our messaging right now is, what it looks like, so that we can all kind of be on that same page in terms of the workforce shortage crisis. You know, what have we seen? We've seen issues with capacity, closures, consolidations, collapse. Those with complex and high needs are not being served, maybe even 50% of those with the most complex and high needs. So that's thousands of individuals, some experiencing isolation and regression, lack of supports for 3 years, home supports just not available, and we're seeing that caregiver stress and illness, and of course the economic impact. So how can we be the most effective advocates? And really, what is legislative advocacy? And I saw that one of Kathleen's slides later on is talking about, you know, storytelling, and it's very similar slide. Advocacy is clearly communicating an issue to persuade your lawmakers, right? But we want to use our voice to influence and to build champions. But what else? Oh, I think this picture, maybe someone is actually on the line who's in this picture. I love this photo, and it reminds me of what really is advocacy. What is it really? It's dogged determination. It's all of these things. And, you know, I know all of you could add to these bullets from your experiences as well. And the stories, the lived experiences, and the relationship building is so critical, as well as coalitions. And I would say now more than ever, the social media, the media coverage, all of that helps us move things forward. So keeping that in mind, and thank you for the wonderful stories that got put into the Boston Globe. The work that goes into that is a lot. So, you know, that's the kind of stuff that's going to push these things along. And connecting with the ARC. We help you. I like to think of us as a springboard to building a relationship with your legislator. A great way to do that is to get comfortable with our advocacy page, ARC of Mass /advocacy. You can look at the budget there. You can look at our legislative bills, our legislative platform. And that's where you're going to find our signing up for our notes from the ARC and our action alerts. And I love the action alerts, although, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, just, you know, canned letters. But these letters actually are an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to learn the issue by reading through the letter, customize it to connect more deeply with your own legislator, and then follow up. You know, you send the action alert, it takes you 2 minutes. You're more educated. You've educated the staff and the legislator. And now you have an opportunity to email and open up conversation. Did you get my letter? Did you do what I need you to do? Are you supporting this issue? Are you co-sponsoring this bill? This is a great way in to really connect and push. And if you get an automated response back, that's okay. We're sending a letter. They're likely going to give you an automated response, but that's another reason for you to just follow up with a phone call or another email. And then, of course, there are all these other wonderful options of meeting with your legislators now. So, and it doesn't have to be just once or twice a year. You can set up meetings frequently to keep them informed. They have district hours. This is a perfect time. I see a lot of legislators literally sitting in coffee shops with nobody with them, sitting in libraries waiting for constituents to come see them. So check in with them, find out when they have these district hours. This is the perfect time to tell your story about self-direction. This is the time that you can tell the longer story. You don't have to make this an elevator story. You don't have to make this a 1 minute, 3 minute testimony. So really try to find out those district hours or set up some Zoom options. This is a great way for your legislator to meet your loved one if they're unable to go to a meeting or to get to the State House. Now I would say share the MA21 website and those wonderful fact sheets. Share them, walk through them with staff, take the time to really teach them, educate them about this issue. And that's how you will build a champion. I mean, people on this call right now have done that with their reps, and we see that happening. So thank you for doing that. And I would say it's best practices for sure. And then, yeah, follow your legislator on social media, support them. There's some give and take here, right? And get to know the staff. Again, it's that relationship building. And here is what the action alerts look like. And if you haven't signed up, that's where you would sign up on our website. Again, it's as someone could pop it in the chat for me, just thearcofmass.org/advocacy. And these are, really important issues right now that we need to communicate to. So take the time. It's just a couple minutes to do these action alerts, and you'll see a lot of them coming out now with our budget. But why are you connecting with your legislator about real lives law, about the ongoing need for the workforce shortage crisis? We need them to take our issues and prioritize them. They have a lot of priorities on their plate already. They have their own priorities. They have a lot of other advocacy organizations pushing them. So not every single legislator is going to be a disability champion. But what we need is a good number of them to be bringing our issues to these folks. So this is the Senate President, the Speaker of the House, the chairs of Ways and Means. These are the people that your reps and senators need to bring our issues to and bring them frequently and make them maybe one of their top 3. And this is how we see things move and change, right? If one of these people are your senator or rep, even better, because you have that direct line to them. So that's the funnel that we talk about. You're working with your legislator, and if you can, get them to work with other legislators, get them to mentor and bring on other reps and senators to our cause. All right, so Kathleen, this is your slide, and we talked a little bit about the same thing under legislative advocacy, but go ahead and jump in here.
Let me unmute. Yeah, thank you. My role here is I'm going to share a little bit more about, as Maura said, there's a lot of similarities, but I hope to share a little bit more to inspire you to use your story for advocacy. So a little bit about me. You can actually, can you go to the next slide, Maura?
Sure.
I think it's,
Whoops.
Oh,
That one?
Sure. This one, yeah. So about me, I work for the Arc of Massachusetts, but I have a long history in family support and family leadership development. And like Maura and others we're going to share today, my advocacy comes from caring for and advocating with and for my son in the middle there with the Patriots gear, his hopes and dreams. And there's such power in storytelling. Articulating your story, framing what you want to say, to the audience that you're saying it to. It really helps kind of frame your frustration, turn it into constructive energy, right? It's exciting to think about sharing something that gives a person who doesn't know you a little bit of a glimmer into what it's like to walk in your shoes, and influence policy by illustrating how these policies, how they're working and how they're not working, and how it affects your family. And there's real magic in sharing your story. You know, you can help other people see themselves in your story, relate to you, find support in you, but also align with you to impact change, as we've seen over the years and as we will continue to see. It's helping to raise awareness by sharing your story, and just promoting how you frame your story is going to frame and promote sensitivity to what your lived experience is, and others learn from that. And so, as it says here, you know, it's important to know your audience. As Maura said, there are times in which you might meet with a legislator at the library and have more time to give a little bit more detail about what it, you know, the background to what you want to share with them or what change you want to make. But there might be an opportunity to be in front of a group where you really have to focus in on a particular part of your story, to push a point and to make folks really understand what that particular point is, because there could be processes to advocacy. So having different versions of a story, different parts of a story is really helpful. And through the storytelling, you know, you build connections, you're really opening the door for others to understand you and learn from you and make change because of what you're sharing. Some folks talk about it, it's your why. It's kind of like before you participate in a group, before you join today's meeting, you really probably peruse the ARC's website, right? Maura shared our mission and our vision. And if our values align, then perhaps that's when you decide to participate in a group or to join an organization. Similarly, when you're sharing your why and it comes from a place where you're sharing parts of your story that are relatable, you're opening that door for others to join you. So it begins right there. It begins with lived experience. It's inspiring through your own passion of telling what's important to you, being honest and transparent. I've learned over the years it takes a level of vulnerability to share things that are deeply personal and important. Because as my own family, you know, has grown through the years, it's been important for me to lead with, you know, my son's vision. He's older, and so I share with you today because he likes me to share about him. But I do it in a way that I know would be beneficial to him with dignity, right? And so sometimes I hesitate to advocate for certain things because I think about, you know, balancing how would he want me to say this and how would he want me to present him as his, you know, advocate and parent. And so it takes really looking deeper at how can I say something without really saying it, but in a way that, you know, lifts him up and who he is and what his hopes and dreams are. Stories be organized, you know, have a beginning, you know, what problem are you trying to solve? What are you noticing is not part of, you know, a policy that's implemented? It's not fully implemented, what we're here for today. How can you organize that in a way that's really going to pull people in, going to give them that one point of something actionable that they can move forward with and make action, and then and give them a sinker, right? Hook, line, and sinker. That's a good story. Has to have a clear message. And folks on this call, a lot of folks who have that history with with, personal leadership, self-advocacy. It's about having that vision, where you want to go really is going to help you frame how you want to get there and what you need to do in the meantime. So it's really important so that the person that's listening to you really can think about how they can impact, how what you're sharing with them, they can move forward and help you in the effort to make change. It's really about building influence. Maura talked about. Recently, I share this picture of, this is part of my family. There's one person missing from this photo. She was actually playing a basketball game. But I shared on social media something that I don't normally share. I really didn't go into detail, but it was sort of I sort of let out the heaviness of caretakers and trying to, always do the right thing and feeling sometimes, that persistence and that perseverance needs a little bit of fuel. And so I shared this statement about just feeling sort of frustrated and needing to kind of fuel myself in a way. And it didn't go viral, but so many hundreds of people commented on it. And in that small statement that I made about feeling vulnerable resonated with people. Even my legislators actually acknowledged it. And so it's opening yourself up to being vulnerable and allowing people to really understand what you're saying between the lines is part of good storytelling. Can you move to the next slide, Maura? And so some tips. Can't say it better. Your story, more importantly, how you tell it, is one of the most important assets regarding advocacy because it's about your lived experience. Some tips I would say, relax. It's your story. Speak from the heart. Practice. Ask somebody to help you. Edit down. If somebody thinks that it could be clearer, if they don't get your point. Just allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to, depending upon the situation, be brief if it needs to be brief, or set a time where you can meet up at a future date to kind of expound upon it, like Maura said, maybe at the library or on Zoom. If you're speaking from the heart and you have a point to make, legislators need to hear from you. Groups need to hear from you because your voice matters. And it's your personal experience that's really going to drive and affect change. And I think, is that my final slide, Maura?
I think that was it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. I'll just go back a little bit and add to your slide. You pretty much said everything that I would have said. One thing I find myself doing that I'll share with people is I make my point and then I made my point and then I made my point and I do not move on. And so try to think about you're making your point and then you're moving on and connecting to the issue, right? That's the clear need. And for you, and I'll just give an example. I talked about this one at a couple of meetings recently, but I'll just give an example of how I tend to tell the story of my son when it comes to his direct support needs. I really think, what we're doing here is trying to increase the rate for our workforce, for our human service workforce. And I worry that people don't know what really goes into this job and the importance of this role. And of course, I worry about how bias affects this and, in society in general, how we feel about caregivers of the elderly and people with disabilities. But I think it's important to tell how skilled people need to be. So for my son, he has a lot of medical complications and his DSPs need to learn a really pretty intricate medication routine. And if they do not follow the timing on this medication routine to the T, he can have a life-threatening seizure. So they take on a pretty huge responsibility when they are taking care of Neil. He also can easily get triggered in certain environments, certain sounds and lighting and other things they have to be really aware of. And try to avoid those things. It's very instinctual, but it's an important piece of their job to learn and try to do a good job at. It's not always easy. Sometimes the behaviors can happen and they can be dangerous. So these DSPs have to learn how to respond to those and keep Neil safe. And this is so critical, or else Neil really is unable to be in the community at all if his DSPs can't learn to keep him safe. They also have to learn a whole new communication system. It's not just augmentative communication that he uses, but he's a very strong gestural communicator, and he really can communicate super well with his eyes if people are willing to learn his nonverbal communication. And they also have to take the time to bond and trust and develop a relationship with him so that he trusts them. And when that happens, it can be really very beautiful. And then if they need to leave that role because they have a better paying job down the street at Target or the pizza place or something, it's devastating. And the whole process has to turn over and happen again, which is just so difficult on him. So I try to tell the story of Neil and all of his needs, but also wrap it into, what is my advocacy issue? What is my ask? Clearly, we need to pay people who do this kind of work better. And then, before we leave the talking to your legislator, I did want to mention that for MA21 Alliance, I think what is critical that we do now is that when you're telling your story to your reps and senators, that you're also asking them to communicate what's happening to the chairs of children, families, and persons with disabilities. They are really important chairs to this issue. And maybe one of them is your legislator, but it's Senator Robin Kennedy and Representative Jay Livingstone. They're also new to this committee, so we need to educate them as well. So Leo and I are setting up meetings to meet with them and educate them, but telling your rep and senator that it's important to bring these issues not only to leadership, but also to the chairs of this important committee. So I wanted to mention that before I forgot. And I know we're probably running out of our time, Kathleen, so I won't go over our budget ask, but for anyone that's interested, we'll be actually sending out an action alert by tomorrow, late tomorrow, and we're ready to advocate for this budget, which had some good news in it, but we certainly need a little bit more. You'll see tomorrow on DDS line items, on the workforce, and of course we want people to get behind our workforce rate increase bill as well. And there you can see all of the areas of advocacy that we need to cover, and for Mass Health as well. So just to quickly review where we are in the process, the budget was just released a little short time ago. We are in the analysis process, and then as you can, this is a great website if you're not familiar with it. You can see how the dots go down from House Ways and Means to a House debate, where we have opportunity to increase line items, to get potentially amendments to the budget in here. And then it goes to the Senate, and then finally to conference committee, where we really want to see the best of the Senate and the best of the House and have all of our amendments passed through. And then the budget will go to the governor from there. So a little bit more complex process than that, but that's kind of the overview. And so, really, this is the time of year that we want you to connect, with your legislator to really get them to understand the system, work with their staff. There's a lot of new folks. We did an orientation, but there's over 25 new legislators this year. So many of them will need more education, kind of backing it up and giving them the overview of our system. We always need people to co-sponsor budget amendments, to co-sponsor our bills and our platform, and to really rise up our priority issues to leadership, like I said before. So there are many bills that you all might be very interested in. Over 25 bills on our platform right now. So I know, we're here because we really want to make an impact on the real lives law implementation, but there are other bills that you may find important to you. So go ahead and check out our bill platform. Hey, there's Anne. And you'll find all of these issues are addressed within the platform. And I won't go through the whole process of a bill passing, but I will say that there is a possibility that we'll have an amendment this year relative to the real lives law. I'm not 100% sure if Rep. Gentile is going to be filing something, but there may be something that comes out of the legislature that it is just going to be an additional push. And obviously you will be the first to know if we have that in hand as we move forward. But all of what we just talked about will be important, and it'll be supporting that amendment all the way through the budget process. So more to come on that. And I'll stop my share. I think we did that in 30, but I'm not sure. Lost track.
It was great. Definitely appreciate it, Maura and Kathleen. Thank you so much. I just want to be able to jump on what Maura and Kathleen shared by, letting folks here with us today know. I reached out to my state representative and shared about not MA21, but about self-direction. So she knows my son, but the importance of connecting with our legislators is super, super important. My son just celebrated his 30th birthday. I've been at this for 26 years, and I understand why it's so important, to develop those relationships. So it's interesting because when we were advocating for the Real Lives Bill to be passed, my then state representative, who is now our city mayor, so she was a co signer for the Real Lives Law, and we got to know each other really well. And she came to the house, she got to know Jonathan, and then our current state rep, I know her because she was a school committee member. And so I just kept in touch with her. So Representative Carol Doherty, as well as Representative Sean Garbely, who has always been a great supporter. I see Maura shaking her head, so she agrees with that. They actually met with us, and we were able to, share with them what's going on right now with the issues around the Real Lives Law. So Carol Doherty is very, very interested, as well as Sean Garbely. They're very interested in helping us, and they're invested in influencing our current administration. So a great way, and Maura mentioned this already, but prep your legislators by telling your story, sharing your story, and ask, you can even mention Representative Carol Doherty and Sean Garbely is, two great supporters of ours. But there was another, let me just look at my note here, because I was hearing more and Kathleen, and they're talking to us, and we have individuals with disabilities and family members, as well as great allies in attendance today. But I believe that Ann and Donna may jump on this. I personally believe it's super important to help our loved one who has a disability share their stories. There's so many ways to communicate. I hear often, my son and daughter, they can't speak. There's so many ways to communicate. So I truly encourage any parents here today to help your son and daughter to communicate and share their story. So let's see. I know that we do have some hands up, but I just want to get through the agenda, and then we'll jump back if we have time to be able to answer questions. But I believe Donna is now in. If someone can confirm that for me, Leo, is she in?
Yeah, Donna, you there? I know I've let her in a few times under
Okay.
someone else's link.
All right, so let's turn it over. Barbara, if you can share your screen. Can't wait till we can really do all of this in person.
I think we have to go without the PowerPoint, but
I saw the tab up, Barbara. If you share your screen again.
Or
I
send it to me if you want. Donna's just getting back in again, I think, by the way. There must be something funky going on with her connection. Or we can go without the PowerPoint, which is fine too, right?
Ann and Donna, can you go ahead and speak without the PowerPoint?
I don't have the slides. I don't have Donna's notes.
Donna, there she is. Unmute, Donna. We see you.
Donna, can you unmute yourself? Donna, can you hear us? Well, while we're waiting, I just wanted to say a couple
Okay,
things.
here we are. We
Is
got it.
Donna there?
Yeah,
Wow, that's a victory, huh? You've had your struggles today, haven't you?
it's not a big case for me.
No, well, we appreciate your
Okay,
perseverance.
thank you, Brian.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.
No, we appreciate your perseverance. I'm just going to say a couple things because when Maura was speaking about the legislator, when we were passing the bill many moons ago, both Donna and Ann were very involved, and so often we would go and talk to people, and then they would hear from the actual self-advocates, and we would see the light go on. It was like, well, that's important what you were saying, but now I understand why people, they need equal opportunities. And this
Yeah,
just
right.
hadn't really occurred to people. So I think both these ladies have experienced traditional supports, and now they both self-direct their lives, and they want so many more people to have that same opportunity. So I'm going to turn it over to the two of them to talk about their story. Who wants to go first?
Donna, why don't you go first?
Oh, thank you, Ian. I've been in a group home, and I've been in a staff department, and then I lived with two people, and they decided to leave, and I decided I'm ready to go self-direct. So I made that phone call, and that phone call, they said, no, you can't. I said, excuse me, I'm going. And they said, okay, we're not gonna argue. So they said, okay, you can go. So we had a meeting, and then we sat here and did a budget, see how much I get. And that's what I did. And then it's not easy to go self-direct. Self-direct, you can do more on your own instead of somebody telling you what to do. If you want to go out to eat, you can do that without permission. And when you live in the group home, you can't do that. So I noticed a lot of people I've noticed wants to go self-direct, and they were told, nope, nope, no. And I'd say, excuse me, people can go self-direct. It's very important, because self-direct, you do more on your own, and you can hire your own staff, you can fire staff, and if you want to do our class, you can do it. And the only thing you can't do, you can't go on vacation with that money, because you have to pay the person you hired and stuff. And then another thing, if you don't like it, you can let them go. I'm not doing what you want. And it's important. And important is you do what you want them to do. Okay? If you want to go to groceries, that's their job to take you. So, that's what it happens. And, when you're living with another roommate, it's very hard to go shopping, because you have to decide what kind of food you want. You might decide this person might not want that. So you have choices out there, and people should listen to them, like DDS. And I get very mad at them, because we were in the Arizona, and with the guy stand up, said, can I go self-direct? No, you can't. Sit down. After we're all done, I said to that woman, you can't say that to him, because how do you know they can't go self-direct? So that's what, it's very hard for people to say, yes, I want to do this, because the answer is going to be in not knowing. No, it should be a law with that. Say, yes, they should go if they want. At least try it anyways.
So Donna, why don't you tell folks some of the things that you do? Because you have a very busy, full life. So what are some of the things, how you spend your time?
I spend my time maybe working on the computer with math. And then sometimes I do other things for people. I go on trips like to Africa, and I raise money for that. And I've been Arizona, I've been everywhere, and keep my time. And we're looking into art classes for me, and that's what I like to do. And then I go out, go for a walk, I go to the gym. I keep very busy in my life. You know, if people want me to do something, I do it for them. Like if Matt wants me to do something, I do it.
So who schedules your week, Donna? Who's in charge?
Me. I am. I decide what I want to do, and the person listens. I have very good people. They listen to me, and they do what I want, and stuff like that. So, on the end, I'm very happy with my staffing, because I love them, both of them, and they do very well with me.
And as I recall, you've had to sometimes ask people to stop working for you, right?
Right. One will sit there, fall asleep and on the computer. Goodbye. You can't do that. And the other one, I fired because you put behind my back and not being truthful. And then you have to look on the website for .com and see, put that out there. We're looking for people to help me to go shopping, maybe help me with my money and things like that. And maybe get a broker. You better up, you know.
So you still get help, right? You don't have to do everything by yourself.
No, I have Mary and Wanda help me, and she does the broker with me. Yep. We decide what we're gonna be doing for the day. So I'm saving my money to go up in New Hampshire, maybe for 2 weeks. We're not sure. So.
All right. So anything else you want to say, Donna, or we'll turn it over to Anne to tell her
I'm all
story?
set.
Hi, so I've been on self-direction since the pilot project ended. It's a good program when it works. It has its glitches, but it's made a difference in my life. I've been in a group home for several years, and then I lived independently for a while, and then I went into self-direction, and it's like day and night. It's a matter of freedom. You don't have to, like, I used to have to set aside a certain day, a certain hour for people to come to my house, and this way I could negotiate the time with the person that I hire. It doesn't have to be set by an agency. And we do things that I want help with, not that somebody's telling someone to do with me. If we spend like a few hours doing errands or things like that, and then schedule a second day for another few hours to do things around the house that will help me. That's fine, but I don't need that much help. But we do things that are good for me and not good for the agency. It could really be used for almost anybody. I remember, I think that that back when the Real Lives Law was coming out, and we were talking about closing institutions, we were talking about using this program for people that were coming out of institutions to get the support they need in the community. That didn't work for that many people, but it was an option that we were talking about at that time.
Well, I think the
like I
law
said-
says it's for all people, right?
Yes,
Right,
yes.
If that's what they want, not that they have to, but if they
No,
want to try
It's
it.
the person's choice.
Hmm.
It really needs to be the person's choice and what they want and what they need. It's, as DDS calls it, the person-directed program. And so it can be quite valuable if it's used right. I believe if the name changes to anything else without putting the person first, it could damage the whole program.
Mhm.
And the whole intent was for us to be first, and for our thoughts of wants to be first, and for us to move forward and not be held back by agencies and strings and all kinds of whatnot. So I guess that being said, I guess I really don't have much more except to just keep struggling, and it can be used for anybody. Like self-advocacy, self-direction comes in different stages. And if you need more supports than in different areas, you should be able to get it.
Well, thank you both. I think you're both have persevered because it isn't easy, and
No, it isn't.
people don't always encourage you, but you feel strongly that you wanted to make your own choices, and you're demonstrating now how life can be pretty good. So,
And
thank you.
I let the directors know every time I see somebody, you should encourage people and not let them know they can't, no, they can't. That's not, they shouldn't do that. People want to go. They have the right to try it. If it doesn't work, they can try something else. And that's for everybody, not just few people. Anybody wants to. And also in day programs, they can do self-direction and day programs. You know, nothing's easy. Just have to get out there and try it.
That's wonderful. I just want to let Ann and Donna know that there are messages in the chat. Folks appreciating your sharing your personal story. Words amazing were used, so thank you so much. Barbara, was there anything that you wanted to share to follow before we move on to hear from Susan?
No, I think both women did a great job of giving you an idea what it can be like. So
Yep.
we can move on to the next phase.
Okay. And Ann and Donna, I believe it was, yeah. So Jillian Barabee and Ann Barabee, they used 2 words, great leader. So that is definitely, a great description, a perfect description rather for the both of you. Again, thank you. Susan, Nadwini, are you all set to share? You're on mute.
Sure, I'll just share a little bit about, I guess, our travels to self-determination. And I'm Susan Nadwini, and we have a son, James, that is 32. And I really use this school a lot in shaping what I wanted James's adult life to look like, because they had a lot more resources than I figured we were going to get after he turned 22. So, I think that's a big message to families if they're looking to do self-direction, to really encourage looking at all the possibilities early and often, and bringing a lot of people into your world, sharing a lot in networking a lot with people. But self-determination for James was really about discovering what he really enjoyed and what he really appreciated. And what he's nonverbal, and so it was really watching everything that he his body language, all of his attempts at communicating to see where he best fit and what he really enjoyed. I think some of the challenges. We did, we really had a self-determined life. He really was doing a lot of things that he enjoyed through agency with choice, which actually we found was just helpful with staffing issues until it wasn't. We changed from agency with choice when we couldn't, they really weren't lending to any positive staffing. We couldn't get staffing from them, and they were just cutting checks versus assisting with that. So that's when I said I can probably do this myself, since it wasn't going to be a big difference with staffing. I was going to have to do it myself. So but James has a great life in that he is he's just going to start another new job the end of this week, but he works 2 days a week. He loves to work. He gets out of bed, jumps out of bed, and signs work on the days that he's working. He loves to recycle. He has a number of paid jobs going around doing recycling, and we have he does therapeutic horseback riding. He goes bowling. He has like a rec day in Cambridge every Saturday. I mean, he really has an amazingly full life of the things that he really enjoys, and lots of friends, lots of people he enjoys being with. But I think the challenges with self-direction is that you really need to know the rules. And one of the reasons why it's important to have everybody understanding the real lives is understanding that DDS to figure this out. They have to provide us with the rules. My experience with getting onto self-direction, or getting with self-direction, changing from agency with choice to self-direction, was different offices do it very differently and don't have the experience or the know-how built into their offices. And that's like, they just haven't done the legwork, I think, with really positive training for people. So our experience took quite a long time. I lost 3 staff people that I had because we couldn't get them hired in a timely way in self-direction. Hopefully they have changed that aspect of it, but it needs to be a lot clearer and a lot easier for people who want to do self-direction. I've been working with a group around a manual on all about self-direction, and it's really written in a way that it should be, not the way that I've experienced it. So I'm hoping that when this manual comes out, which is relatively soon, I think, that they will that everyone will read it and understand, and everyone in the DDS offices, and they will address self-determination in that same way. So it's really a very optimistic manual on self-direction. But everybody does deserve to be at least approached with self-direction. You know, if you're in a day program and it's not working for you, I mean, you should have that option at every ISP meeting, that here's another option for you. Whether you take it or not is up to you, but the option it should be out there. And I've talked to so many families that never have heard of self-direction, are in day programs that may or may not be working for them without having known about anything else. So, you know, I'm happy that our son has a life that is good for him, that we've persevered and pushed and provoked people into answering our questions and making it work for us. But it right now, you know, that seems to be what it takes to make sure that you get the options that are open for you. So I mean, I just want people to and the legislators, I believe the legislators should want this to happen. The legislators law, and they need to be they need to know what isn't happening for them. So or what isn't happening for the people that they pass the law for. So, you know, I think that that's a valuable story to bring to them. So I could answer any questions, any other questions, but I guess my push for everybody is to be concerned for your friends that have children with disabilities or adults with disabilities around, you know, make sure that they're getting offered the same supports that you are. Self-direction, make sure, you know, ask people and say, you know, do you know about this? Share your knowledge with people, make sure they understand what the options are, because other families are your friends around helping you get the knowledge that you need in order to provide the best you can for your family member. So that's all.
Susan, thank you. So there are a couple of questions regarding that manual. Do you know how that manual is going to be shared? Is that manual for everyone?
It should be widely shared. It should be shared with everyone, and that's and there was technical difficulties with, there was a meeting today, but there was technical difficulties that I don't know when they started, but they didn't start on time. And I waited for a while to get on and didn't quite get on. So, so it has to go to legal, I think, first for them to check everything over, but it is, it should be out by May or June. And it is for everybody. And again, it's written in a very positive way. It has some stories in it about how people use self-direction. It has a lot of the paperwork that is required by the PPL and the website and call numbers. It tells you how you're supposed to have this option for you. So it really is a manual that that is says a lot. It also talks about person-centered planning and how that's a necessary part of developing a full life and a self-directed life. You have to know what you want before you can go out there and get it. So it's really about looking at all the options and finding what works best for you. But there is there's paperwork involved, and there's there's the sign-on stuff, and it's understanding employees, and it's all that. So it has much more of that information in it than I was given. And everybody needs kind of an orientation to how to make that work. You can develop a great life, but you do need to understand how to do the paperwork and all that with the self-direction. So, and it's not difficult once you get going, but you just have to know.
Right.
You just have to understand what it's all about. And if they don't tell you, then you're just constantly, in my case, I was constantly saying, wait a second, what's this code? What's that code? How come, my employee is having trouble signing on, and what's the issue here? And so, this orientation and this understanding of what is required of the individual or their family or their person or team is important to know. So so I'm pushing for that, and they're working on that. But the regulations need to come. The legislators need to push that. We need to push the legislators. It's all
Mhm.
it's all a continuous effort.
Hmm.
Did a good job.
Susan, thank you so much. Truly appreciate your ongoing advocacy and involvement in helping make positive change for everyone. So we have two hands up. Fran has had his hand up for a while, and then we're going to jump over to Leo. Fran?
Hi everyone, I'm Fran, use pronouns he, him, and they, and she and her. I am from MATS. I'm representing MATS and other self-advocates like myself. I just want to share that nothing's possible if we all work together. Like each parent, each organization, including MATS for Anyone to Change, all of us need to work together to make it possible, because I don't know how many times I've heard that I only heard this service, or I'm not haven't heard back from my service going about getting directing. And for a person like me as a self-advocate that didn't get services to like probably 2 or 3 years to get self-directing, I had to hear it from a friend. And I think it's not fair that we all as self-advocates had to rely on our friends and our organization.
Yep.
It should be that the DDS service coordinator should be taking part in making sure if they want to do something like that, let them do it. It's their right and their freedom to write. But also keep in mind, we know what's best for us, and we do know we want the best for us as well. You may see that they may see us that we're just advocating for the sake of it. No, we're advocating for something that we need and what we want. And my point I'm trying to say is that we all work together to want one thing to work best for the individual, because there's no I in team, as I learned. So I just
Mhm.
want to pull that together, that we gotta work as a team to make it is possible, not impossible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you. Thanks, Fran. Thanks, Ann, Donna, and Barbara, and Susan, for your presentations. I just want to like share an action item that everybody can do. And Maura's back, so thank you, Maura and Kathleen too. But one action item really can be, like Diane did with Carol Doherty, and that I'm pretty sure Karen did with Rep Gentile, is to connect with your rep, your senator. You don't have to do them both on the same day. Share one example of something. Like in Ann's case, it was like being told she couldn't use the taxi to go to Quincy Market to do her fruit shopping, because she could take the T there. I mean, give me a break. Talk about parent control, right?
Right.
So just share like one example. And if one example doesn't work, try a second. And if the second doesn't work, forget that person because they're not hearing your story. But I mean, if you share your story, I think like that can be like an action item, for all of us over the next, because we won't meet again for 2 months. That would be great to build. And then also mention, I think one of you said this in the presentation, mention Carol and Sean's and Rep Gentile's name, because they're all, we did share, just FYI, Karen, Rep Gentile's name with them as well. Hoping that there'll be like basically a bunch of folks on board. And again, with Maura's suggestion to go to CFPD, children, families, and people with disabilities as well. But the key is, if it grows to be like 40 legislators, 50 legislators, I mean, which isn't really hard to get to, given the number of people that are showing up and even the number of people in our core group that was meeting over the last year and a half, we can get there pretty easily. And one of the people, David, I think, said, hey, can we deal with this budget authority issue? That's what Robert Beckett was talking about, the fact that you should be able to hire an organization as well. And yeah, that could be your story. I'm trying to hire, Susan had that story with wanting to hire Built and then refusing to do it because, they were able to help her get staff because they have a different model. They don't have a traditional provider model, right? They have a model based on real lives, so you have to be able to allow people to do those things. So just pick your story, pick your issue. And if we can get, I'll tell you, over the next 246, the pressure will make a difference. And if they go both to CFPD, that Children and Families with Disabilities, that's Representative Livingston, a brand new chairperson, and a brand new chairwoman in the Senate, Robin Kennedy from Worcester. Jay Livingston is from Boston. He's very progressive. Robin Kennedy's also already signed on to our workforce bills. But if you could, basically tell your legislator, hey, could you please, join the group that's going to advocate on this issue? And we understand, 2 representatives are working on that. If you forget their names, we can send them to you. We should probably put them on the MA21 site. But we'll put them in the chat right now, the 2 that are organizing, and we'll also put in children, families, and people with disabilities. And then Liz asked about the slide deck, one of our regulars and one of the people that's been on committees, and Liz Fahey here, she's saying, slide deck would be helpful to share. So that would be great, Maura. We can send it to everybody.
Sure. And Leo, I would just add to go ahead and share that link to the website as well, because some of your reps and senators will need that background if you're going to share a problem you're having or an issue, like an action item that Leo was saying. Give them that background. A lot of them need that education still.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the MA21 Alliance, you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm putting out the other reps' names and
Yeah, just wanted to add. So I did put the MA21alliance.org, the link in chat again. And what can we do to, today, starting like right after we log off, is go to the website and share your ideas with us. Use the contact feature on the website. Keep a look out for any of our email communications as we continue to do the work in order to advocate effectively. And our next meeting, mark your calendar. Our next meeting is May 16th. If you haven't already registered, we ask that you do so. Utilize the website again for that purpose. We are going to send out a short survey in a couple of days. So if you could just take, a couple of minutes to respond to that survey, we would really appreciate it. The input that we get will only help us to plan our meetings and, again, move forward with the mission. So I'm looking at the time. I want to respect everyone's time. Thank you so much for being patient with the technical difficulties that we experienced and just moving the agenda around, and appreciate everyone's attendance today. I'm feeling more encouraged. Leo has another thought to share.
Yeah, Rick Glassman just wanted to remind that we got to press DDS on the whole funding comparable to traditional services, and the wage rate issues too. So again, the budget authority, that's all, it's more than the budget authority, right? There's the budget authority, and then there's these pieces about being equal to traditional services. So, and I'm sure, thank you, Rick, for that reminder.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And there are comments in the chat, but if you go to the fact sheet, we have one that's a basic fact sheet, and we also have one, what do we call it, the technical fact sheet, that will be of great use to share with your legislators. But a lot of good information on that website, so please visit that and share your input. So thank you everyone so much for attending today, and we hope to see you in May, but we will definitely be in touch before then.